Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is a beautiful February 13th, 2020, day before Valentine's Day. On today's episode of the CrustyCanuck podcast, we'll be discussing backwards progression, more government spending, and media paid for by, of course, your liberal tax dollars. All that and more coming up in the CrustyCanuck podcast. Stay tuned.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthy.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, CrustyCanuck, on this beautiful 13th February 2020. And yes, I know recently I just put an episode up, not even about 5 days ago, but however, I'm compelled to make another episode for you, my listeners and fans alike. Yes, recent headlines have dictated more and more of these protesters protesting the gas link in BC. Of course, you see little outspurts in Ontario and other parts of the country, blocking trains, blocking bridges, all these little virtue signalers sitting there saying, oh, we're doing this to save the environment. And I'm thinking, well, if you're going to save the fucking environment, why aren't you doing it by protesting the individuals that actually pollute the fucking environment? Now, what gets me about all these protesters, whether BC, Ontario, or anywhere in the world for that matter, standing on a bridge, denying people access to go to work, to go about their business, to go about their lives, their own merry way. Why is there not as much passion and dedication to protest the poison water issue and reservations in this country? Why is there not the protest and dedication and such passion when it comes to major cities and major corporations employed and working with these cities that are dumping raw sewage into our fucking Great Lakes? Where is the outrage and protest when we have veterans and senior citizens getting it up the chuff by our federal government? Where's the rage and protest when it comes to letting convicted terrorists speak after getting a $10.5 million handout? Where's the outrage and protest there? Firstly, I want to say hats off to Mr. Mackenzie on his website, The Raging Humanist. Well done to you, sir. You know, as far as I know, you and I served in the same tour. If you're listening to this, please give me a shout out. After watching your footage there, sir, fucking fantastic. Well done on you. I myself, I couldn't afford to fly to Halifax to Dalhousie to watch that cretin fucking say a word. But according to media reports that were there, TNC and Rebel Media, this clown, Omar Khadr, got himself a frickin' standing ovation. Right? Now, according to these reports, and I'll leave links at the bottom of the page here, as always, he was asked really, really soft questions and really, really hard, not so hard to do. Anyhow, I'm getting jumbled here. I'm just so fucking frustrated. Make a long story short, as I mentioned prior to the start of the show, backwards progression, meaning we're praising these people as heroes. We're praising these people as real crusaders and real debutantes and real examples of what life should fucking be. So to all the protesters out there who happen to be listening to this podcast, I have got one thing to say to you. Fuck you. Okay? I'm all for free speech. I'm all for protesting and fighting the good fight. Yes. Okay? But you're basically denying the people's right to do what they think is right for them, i.e. go to work, go to school, to move about freely as one should in this democracy. But you think you're crusading, you think you're fighting the good fight by blocking roads, by blocking highways, by laying garbage down on the highways? Right? Do you honestly think you're really, really stirring the pot, causing shit? You're just disrupting people's lives is all you're doing. Okay? And the police officers out there that have made arrests, especially arresting the wrong people for cleaning up the garbage and clearing the fucking highways, maybe you should tell your bosses something. Right? Whether you're following orders or not, there's a certain moral code that you should follow. Now, as a former Canadian soldier, we were given briefings all the time about ethics and following orders and all that good stuff. And if we are given an unlawful command, we had every right to question it. So if we can do that in the military capacity, what's stopping the RCMP or OPP or any other police force from cleaning up this fucking street or cleaning up the fucking bridges or cleaning up the fucking highways from these protesters? If you want to stop pollution, then go to the actual polluters. Don't be giving Joe Blow down the road a hard time for driving a truck, or Joe Farmer a hard time for driving a tractor, or a lady dropping her kids off to school and going about her merry way and minding her business. Now, I look at some of these protesters from all the footage I've recently witnessed, and do they even have a fucking job? Right? Like, you're talking about progression. You're talking about, oh, we have to save the world. Nothing like saving the world by fucking other people up. Nothing like saving the world than standing in front of someone from doing what they want to do. Yet you're saving the world, right? When the fuck do we get so complacent where it's okay for a 15-year-old terrorist, or a terrorist at the time who is 15, who has blatantly showed no remorse for his actions or the actions of his father and mother and the people around him, and he's given a standing ovation in fucking Halifax, Nova Scotia, right? Who received a handout because of political fucking dogma and other bureaucratic bullshit, okay? And then people are sitting there praising these protesters as some kind of fucking heroes, and yet 20 councils in that area of BC have okayed the pipeline because it's going to bring them prosperity, jobs, and security, right? Yet people don't want to see that. And where's the mainstream media in all this fucking debacle? Where is it? Nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be seen. Other than, oh, protesters are uniting. Okay, so if any protesters are listening to this right now, any protesters, I challenge you to a fucking debate. You heard it right here in Krusty Canuck, ladies and gentlemen. I challenge you to a debate about this environment. And I want you to come up with some valuable solutions that will thwart this so-called climate catastrophe. I want you to come up with some kind of plan. Because if you got the cojones and the balls to stand on a fucking highway or a bridge or stop a train, or any train for that matter, from moving around in the name of the environment, I want you to present to me a viable solution that will thwart the so-called climate crisis. And don't sit there and say a tax, because we've all done that road with fucking taxes. They tried to pump that bullshit in the 90s with the GST, and unfortunately, we're still in fucking debt. So, to all these geniuses out there that go and protest with their signs, standing up with the First Nations, you have this passion to help this small band of First Nations in BC fight this pipeline. And yet, where was your passion when we discovered that half the reservations in this country have poisoned fucking water? You know what I think? I think you protesters are a bunch of fucking hypocrites. Honestly. You're standing in front of freedom. You're standing in front of progress. Okay? Canada has probably the cleanest record when it comes to the environment, when it comes to looking after our resources, whether it be forestry, whether it be fossil fuels, or any kind of production for that matter. Okay? It's been proven. It's a hell of a lot more ethical than what's going on in Nigeria right now. Hell of a lot more ethical than Saudi Arabia. Okay? And you want to stand in front of it. Because you're either university professors or your little groups or your little fucking fascists in disguise are telling you otherwise. Okay? So you protesters out there that actually don't work, because you got all the time in the fucking world to stand on a bridge and stand on a railway crossing and stand on a highway. You obviously don't have a fucking paying job. So you might as well ruin someone else's opportunity for a paying job too, by standing there screaming to the high heavens, oh, we're doing this to save the planet. Bullshit. Okay? You call yourselves progressive? You're stepping backwards. If you want us to ride horses again and go back to wagons, sure. It'll take you a month to get to Edmonton, or a month to get to any other city. It'll take you a couple days to travel here and a couple days to travel there. Not to mention how many times you got to stop and feed and rest your fucking steed there. Is that a solution? Or tell you what, how about we're supposed to identify these problems and unify on it? But no, you don't want to unify. You want to stand in front of people and fuck it up. So, don't be surprised, ladies and gentlemen, or kids, or little fucking commies in training. Don't be surprised if someone gets out of their vehicle and starts swinging. Don't be surprised if a bunch of people get out of their vehicles and start swinging. Don't be surprised if the police one day turn around and say, okay, look, we've had enough of your shit. We're getting you out of here. And all of a sudden you got riot cops coming at you with shields and batons. Okay? Not that I'm promoting any kind of violent reaction or any kind of violent solution to this, but it's getting really, really sickening. Every time you turn on the TV, there's this protest over here about oil, protest over here about fossil fuels, protest over here about the forestry, protest. Oh, my feelings, please feel sorry for me. No, fuck you. Okay? You're making it sound like that every company that's come to this country has done nothing but drop its drawers and take a shit on something. And yet there are people out there that want prosperity, that want to work for a living, and want to carry on with their lives. And yet your little groups sitting there saying you're fighting for the environment, and you're stopping people from progressing, from building something. Okay? And as far as I know and what I've read, the First Nations are included in this too. So put your racism cards away, put your victimhood cards away, and start paying attention to the results of your actions and your lack of them. Okay? So as I say again, if any of you protesters out there want to engage me in a debate, and don't take Justin Trudeau's word for it, or the previous environmental minister's word for it, the great blonde Barbie cunt herself, and yes, I called her a cunt because she's insensitive and inconsiderate to the Canadian people, just like the Liberal caucus out here. Just like the Liberal caucus in Ottawa. They don't give two shits about progress in the country. Mr. Trudeau is in Africa trying to gain a fucking UN seat when he should be here trying to sort this shit out as a leader should. Right? They should be dismantling these protests and saying, hey, let's fucking come to agreement here. But no, they can't do that because there's more at hand. There's an image to promote. And there's the sock boy entity to promote. And there's money to be spent elsewhere other than Canada. Right? So, my solution is get rid of the protesters. Protest all you want. You're allowed to. That's your democratic right. But you're standing in front of people from getting to work, from doing their thing, from raising their families, to putting food on their table, to keeping the lights on, and to live their lives freely as every citizen in a democratic country should. But you don't want to do that, right? You think you're doing something fucking great and grand. But you're denying people's rights to be. If you like what you hear and what I've said, please contact me, CrustyBCanuck67@gmail.com. Or you can find me on Facebook under Crusty Canuck, on Instagram at Canuck Crusty, and I'm also on Twitter under John M. Irwin 3. I'll leave links at the bottom of the page here. And if you feel like donating, please donate to my Subscribestar, Patreon, and Patreon pages, respectively. A donation of $5 to $10 a month will get you a free t-shirt from my t-shirt line on Teespring. I'll leave a link to that too. And 30% of every sale and donation I will graciously give to the Veterans Association Food Bank. They're a helpful unit down in Calgary, Alberta. They help out veterans in times of need. They provide food, opportunities, and they give you somebody to talk to. They also build sedgeways and walkways for disabled vets, and they're a good pillar of the community. And I'll leave a link to their page as well. Anyway, carrying on with the so-called backwards progress that we've been seeing today in the news with these protesters, and finding out more media is being paid to talk about the climate lie and change. There's an article I'm going to post in my description here. It came from Candice Malcolm of True North Media. I just listened to it there yesterday. Fantastic podcast, fantastic story. And she basically explains and tells you what she read and what she has seen via some reports. There are links in her stories as well. But I'll post a link to her podcast in regards to the media being paid by the federal government, what to say and when to say about climate change. So we know it's a shitstorm, folks. And I have been asked in some of my comment sections there, what do I believe about climate change? And I don't think a tax is going to cure it. I don't think the government can control the weather. So when they talk about climate change and catastrophe and saying things like, oh, we only got 12 years to live, what kind of plan is put in place if we do, right? And through the research I've done, the only viable solution that I have seen and read about is from Dr. Patrick Moore, one of the founders of Greenpeace. He more or less stated that nuclear energy is key, with hints of geothermal. So there's an idea. Geothermal from the earth itself. All right. I know there's technology out there that can harness it and embrace it and help people. Why aren't we looking into that alternative? Right? Why are we not looking into that alternative? Because it's not as profitable as oil, of course. We know that. And it's not as profitable as nuclear. But needless to say, there's going to come a time where we're going to stop worrying about profits and start worrying about real progress and real prosperity and real dignity. So, as I say again, these clowns protesting in these fucking highways and standing around waiting for glory, thinking you're doing something good. Don't be surprised one day if someone gets out of their truck or car and cracks you over the back of the legs or over the side of the head with a 2x4. Getting sick of your shit. Right? Getting sick and tired of this so-called progress and these identity politics and these environmentalists sitting there saying they're crusading for the safety of the earth, and yet they've never contributed anything to society as of yet, other than temper tantrums and hurt feelings and identity politics. Right? You know, you think for yourself. Tell me how you feel. CrustyBCanuck67@gmail.com, or here on the Podbean or on the YouTube. By all means, send me a comment, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you like what you hear and see, by all means, share it around. Subscribe today. You know, help us independent folk get our algorithm up and get the word out. You know, hats off again to that Mr. Mackenzie, who did a great job telling the media that was there what's going on. It's good to see and hear a soldier's perspective on life, because we signed up, put our asses in the line, did our jobs. That simple. We did our fucking jobs. And yes, we followed orders. And they were ethical orders because why? One, we were at war. We had a job to do. Go fight the Taliban. Go fight the Al-Qaeda. Go help the Afghan people to the best of our fucking abilities. And some of us did. And a lot of us thought we were doing a good fucking job over there. Because they had clean water. They had opportunity. And it wasn't like we forced our way of democracy on them. They wanted freedom. And we helped. Now, how they deal with that freedom, how they live with that freedom, that's up to them. But we had a fucking job to do. And there's a few brothers and sisters that I remember that aren't here with us today because they did their job. They went above and beyond, and they gave their fucking lives. And every day I think about those individuals that I met, that I shook hands with, shared cigarettes with, talked and joked with. You know, when we had our beer ration, sit and have a drink, shoot the shit. You know, talk about life, talk about ambitions. And as I said, some of those people aren't around anymore, ladies and gentlemen, because they gave their lives in the name of Canada. And whether you agree or disagree with military lifestyle or the military being involved in anything, they died. They're gone. But they're not forgotten. And I encourage every veteran that is listening to this to get out there and speak up. Speak up against the fucking ridiculous Veterans Affairs mandates and their fucking bureaucratic red tape bullshit. Speak out against having fucking criminals speak at symposiums. Speak out against having criminals go to healing lodges rather than serve their fucking time. Speak out against stupidity of Chairgirl, right? Making her a media fucking hottie superstar because she threw a chair off a fucking skyscraper into the Gardner Expressway. We got to stop rewarding stupid, ladies and gentlemen, and start punishing those who are stupid. Really, you know. Anyhow, that's my spiel on these environmental activists and these protesters standing on highways, you know. And like I say, don't be surprised if someone gets out of a truck one day or a car and starts swinging. Don't be surprised if they get out and you find a bunch of people with 2x4s or bats or sticks and they start swinging. Well, what gets me, though, is when I watch the footage in BC on Vancouver Island, 2 people being arrested for removing garbage. You'll find that in the Candace Malcolm True North video there too. But I'm dumbfounded. Really, what do you say to that? These people are blocking traffic, being a nuisance, causing mischief, loitering, right? And I have some law training, so I understand what loitering and mischief is. And basically leaving debris on the fucking highway to protest. You know, the whole stolen land issue. The whole rights issues. And these people just want to carry on about their business, do their thing. You know? You didn't see any yellow vests blocking the highways. You saw them rolling down the highway. Right? You didn't see any veterans blocking the highways. They're rolling down the highway. You know? But no, of course not. This is progress, right? This is revolution, right? Wrong. You're just being a dick. Just being a bunch of little fucking spoiled bitches. Really. And pardon my swearing, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm quite passionate about this. I love my country. I love freedom. And I expect every other Canadian to promote his or her freedom too. But when you're stopping people from going to work, when you're stopping trains from running because the so-called hype on climate emergency and then the federal government doing nothing about it, it gets ridiculous. Anyway, you decide. You decide what's right. Every individual is sacred. Every person is sacred in this country. Every life matters as far as I'm concerned. But you're starting to compromise people's livelihoods here and their lifestyle and their lives because you want a tantrum. Because you think you're doing something good when really you're not. When 20 communities in that area of BC have okayed the pipeline because it's bringing them economic growth too. Right? And I'm curious to see how many foreign interests are here, i.e. Tides Foundation and i.e. the Rockefellers. And I'll leave a link to Vivian Krause there. She's a reporter or an intellect that actually dissected the whole investment scheme that's going on that's thwarting production of oil in this country. Quite informative, too. She's got a documentary there. I think there's a link there. I'll put that, too. But you decide, ladies and gentlemen. You decide what's right. Oh, I for myself, I'm just annoyed at all this fucking, protesting over pipes and fossil fuels when everyone is affected by fossil fuels. To the clothes you wear, to the vehicles you drive, to the vehicles you use. From your lawnmowers you use to cut your suburban lawns, right? To the shoes you wear, to the items in your household, to every one of your cell phones and computers. There is an abundance of petroleum products instilled and manufactured with or from petroleum. But you don't want to see that because you're a crusader, right? As I say again, I invite any of these environmentalists to debate me on this, by all means. And any politician that would like to engage me in a debate in regards to the environmental catastrophe or supposed environmental catastrophe that's going to happen. Right? Give me some facts and figures, some hard facts and figures, not this whole 97% scientists say. I'd rather believe Dr. Patrick Moore, one of the founders of Greenpeace, who is an actual doctor and an ecologist who knows exactly the environmental impacts that the past 50 years has done and what lies ahead. Wintertime is going to be cold. Summertime, you're going to have heat. Spring, you're going to have heat and cold. Fall, things fall apart, getting ready for the winter. We understand the whole four seasons dynamic in Canada, in the United States, in the Northern Hemisphere, and how things work. Right? So if you got the time to sit in a bridge and stop people from going to work and carrying on about their business, you've got the fucking time to smarten up and to fucking know better. That's simple, folks. That's my solution. Look into geothermal, look into biodiesel, look into better solutions to prolong the life of petroleum without dumping 25 liters on the ground or in the waterway. And while we're figuring out those solutions, let's punish the people that are putting raw sewage in our waterways. And if you have just as much passion to stop on bridges and railway tracks and highways alike, you can show just as much passion to every First Nations reservation in this country that has dealt with poison fucking water. Right? Where's the passion in that? Anyhow, I've been CrustyCanuck on this beautiful 13th of February, 2020. Thank you once again to all my new subscribers. I see that my list is getting bigger by the day. Thank you once again to my American friends and my European friends. Thank you especially. Please take a look at my merchandise. It's available now. I got a new logo up there and everything. I even incorporated some socks there for all the sock enthusiasts. Yes, and I got some tank tops and leggings for the ladies. All that good stuff. I even got something for the babies in the crowd. If you have a little boy or little girl and they want a new jumper, well, there's a Crusty Canuck jumper there for sale too. Anyhow, on this 13th February, thanks again. Thanks for paying attention. And Valentine's Day is tomorrow, so go get your loved one, your boyfriend, wife, or your girlfriend, or your lover, or whoever you identify with. Go out for a nice dinner, buy some chocolate, some flowers. Don't forget to tell your significant other that you love them and how important they are to you. I know I'll be telling my wife wonderful things and all that good stuff. And I'll try to be around next week sometime, hopefully with a video. I'm working on getting some scenes and everything cut here. There'll be an appearance by Lulu, one of my new creators. I can't speak English today. One of my new characters. And there might be another character peering its ugly head somewhere besides myself. Anyhow, I've been Crusty Canuck. Take care. Happy Valentine's Day if I don't see you. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, humanity merit wins the day. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you all are.